Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Ericson Presents Mixing Tutorials. And today you've seen the thumbnail, so you already know what we're talking about or what we're working on. I, as an audio engineer, I don't just work on music. I have mixed a movie. I actually am currently working on mixing a audiobook, and now I am mixing for Onlyfans content. Just added to my resume. So if you are coming to this video, you're going to be one of two people. I'm hoping a person who knows their way around Final Cut Pro and the audio side, and then a person who doesn't. So hopefully for those who don't, you might learn a little something. I'm just going to give you some basic things that you can do to help you make your video production sound just a little bit better. So in this tutorial, I want to talk about pretty much three things. One being EQ, the other thing being compression, and then levels. So those three things are what we're going to cover, and why using them will help your videos translate just a tad bit better. Okay, so let's talk about EQ. One thing you're going to be doing when you're EQing is fixing problems. Okay, that's what I want you to utilize the EQ for, to fix problems. So if you ever look at your EQ in your car, now they separate it into three bands mostly. It's usually bass, mids, and highs. But if you look at this screen, this X section over here would technically be your bass, this would be your mids, and this would be your high. So for the sake of this video and trying to keep it simple as we possibly can, I am going to just talk about the bass and the highs. Now, when you listen to this audio clip, you're going to hear a lot of rumbling noise. This type of noise is usually caused by air conditioning. If you're filming, because usually it's the air conditioner's on, a heater's on, something that's you're not accustomed to hearing. You don't pay attention to it. It's in the background, but the microphone picks up everything. So if it's in the background, it's in the mic. So let's hear. Now, a way to get rid of that, I'm going to be blurring out a lot of stuff. A way to get rid of that is by utilizing this little slope right here and cutting out information at the bottom. So if I turn this on, this line indicates that anything on this side of the line is being cut out, and it's letting all of this pass through. So I just moved that up to 90 hertz. Let's move it up to 100. Let's just type in 100 just to be even. And now when I turn that on and off, you're going to hear the rumble go away. So let's play. No more rumble. Okay. That is where that noise resides at. Now, if you have a bunch of audio tracks that you're putting together, because everybody has their own track that they're talking through, or you're just combining things, if those audio tracks have that noise going on in the bottom, you might not necessarily hear it if your speakers aren't great, but that will build up with imagine that noise on over, I don't know, 5 tracks. Like, that's just build up. That's all that is build up. And we want to take that out. We don't want that in there because we don't need it. And yeah, that's just it. We don't need it. You can also do the same thing on the high end at the top. It's not necessary, but I mean, if there's some high hissing noise going on, that would be a place where you would look for that information. So how about we turn that off and turn it on and see what happens? Okay, hit the play button. Just turned it down a little bit, closer to 10K. A little more. And then you could add this shelf if you want it just to be a little bit brighter. And you can boost up the top end. as loud as you want. It doesn't really matter. And voila, that's EQ in a nutshell. Like, EQ does not have to be super complicated. But when you pick up a EQ, just have a reason for why you want to utilize the EQ and then have at it. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the compressor, and I'm just going to try to make this super generic, simple as I can make it so that you can understand it, because the compression, there are engineers who still don't understand the way the compressor works, like what it's supposed to do and how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through this super quick so that you just know what to do real quick if you run into these problems. So basically, when you have any source of audio that is recorded through a microphone, I don't necessarily, like when we talk to each other, when me and you talk to each other, we don't necessarily speak at the same volume, pitch wise or volume wise, when we're talking to each other. Sometimes we say things a little more quiet. Sometimes we talk a little louder. Sometimes we get a little excited. And in doing so, the microphone picks up your volume at different volumes. Okay. So what a compressor does is levels all that out. So when you hear it back, it sounds like it's all one level. Like right now I have a compressor on this microphone. So when I'm talking through it, it doesn't necessarily give you too much of a spike in volume. So even when I want to talk kind of low, you can still hear me at the same volume, but you can also tell I'm talking low. But if I actually took that off, then I would just drop down dramatically. So anyways, point is, that's what a compressor does. So I'm going to just give you the quick basics of what this compressor is doing. I'm not even going to tell you everything about it because that will be a lot. But every compressor is going to have something that is called a threshold. All you need to know about the threshold is the more negative you turn the knob, the more compression is going to be applied. Now, the reason why that is happening is because if your audio is peaking like this, right? Okay. I'm looking at myself, you know, like I'm breaking and popping. I'm from the 80s. Anyways, if your vocal line or your vocal peaks are doing this, the compressor threshold is going to be right here. Now, when you turn it up positive, you're turning it away from that, you know, that wave, that vocal line. Man, this is amazing. If y'all don't hit the like button for me using all this just to explain this, anyway. So, all right, let's get back to it. So this is your audio, and then this is where the threshold is. So that's why I say you have to turn it negative. Let me get up under the mic. Because if you turn it negative, you're going to bring it down. Okay. You're going to bring that threshold down, and you want the threshold to catch the audio. So that's why you want to turn it negative. So you're going to turn it down until it starts catching the audio. Now, how you're going to know you're catching the audio is when this little meter knob is jumping, or whatever compressor you have is most likely going to have a meter on it, and it's going to tell you a number that's going to keep changing. That number is saying how much of a compression is hitting. So basically, how low are you turning it? How much of the signal is being affected? Okay, that's threshold. Ratio, look, I don't want to confuse you on ratio. So just know this: the lower the number is for your ratio, the less compression that's happening. So your threshold is when it's telling your compressor where to listen, but it doesn't do anything until the ratio is set. Okay, follow me. Threshold, where should it be listening to? Ratio, what should it do when it's there? So this ratio is set to 2-1. Okay, if I turn it up, 8-1, 13-1, 23-1, that is a hard compression. I don't want to explain to you exactly what it's doing if you're a beginner, because we're going to start speaking trigonometry. Just know that 2-1 is not going to kill your vocal or your, you know, whatever source that you have on it. Usually you're going to do this on a vocal. If the vocal needs to be a little more consistent. 3-1, even 4-1 it can work. It's just about using your ears, setting that, turning the threshold. If it sounds like it's too squashed, turn the threshold up just a little more, because maybe it's compressing too much. But you'll see these numbers jump and you'll know. Okay. The makeup gain is simply to turn the signal back up, because when we're turning that threshold down, am I speaking trigonometry? Tell me in the comments if I sound like I'm speaking trigonometry. Okay. For the gain, when you turn the threshold down, you are actually turning the signal down. So you need to turn the signal that is squashed together back up. So take these waves. Okay. I'm back here doing my little popping thing. You got these waves going, and I turned the thresholds down, and now the wave is kind of doing this. Okay. But it's lower. Remember, it was up here before, but now it's down and it's lower like this. So what the gain is going to simply do is take that little lower thing and just turn it back up. Yo, comment, hit like buttons, because I know I'm going in on this tutorial. Okay. Bam. I just explained this so good. All right. So anyways, you also have an auto gain where the compressor will do it itself. You can always turn that on as well. Okay. Attack and release. And these are the only two things that I want you to even know about. And then everything else, another day. So for the attack and release, the attack is going to make the vocal sound smoother if you turn the attack all the way to the left, or on this compressor closer to 0. So these are milliseconds. So 0 millisecond means as soon as it hears a signal, the compressor is going to react. So this is what the compressor is listening to. This is telling you how much of the compression you want it to do. And then the attack and release are saying, how fast do you want it to react? And how fast do you want it to let the signal go? So yeah, just replay that part. I know I said it right, because when I said it, I was making sure I said it right. So if the attack comes in very fast, then the vocal is going to sound more smooth, or whatever the source is. If the attack comes in slower, it's going to sound a little more dynamic, or a little more up and downy, a little more transient. Now, when I say transient, that means when we talk, our T's, our B's, P's, all those plosive sounding words, the first thing you hear is called the transient, because that's the sharp part of what you're hearing. And then after that, it's just the rest of butterfly. Okay. But the B is the transient. Butterfly, butter. The is not going to be a part of the transient, because that comes after the B. So what the compressor is going to do is it's going to either if it's set fast, it's going to take that B and it's going to squash the B down to where it sounds more like the rest of the butterflies. A butterfly. There you go. Butterfly. It's going to sound more like that, but the making the attack go a little slower by turning that knob up will mean that it's going to let that B come through, but then it's going to compress after the B. That's literally what it's doing. And then the release simply is just, that's how long do you want it to hold on to the signal. So I'll do an example, and I'll play it with the attack up all the way. Now, when I turn the attack to 0, listen to how much smoother the vocal is going to start sounding. Okay, let's go to it. I feel like they cut the grass like 1,000 times a week. They're always out there. All right. Anyways, let's do the attack and the release. I mean, the attack timing. All right. So now let's turn the attack up. Let's find a better place. Now let's turn it back up. It shouldn't sound as smooth. It's going to probably sound more choppy. And back down. Smoother. So yeah, there you have it. That's how a compressor works. And then you have the release saying how fast, how much of the signal that I want to hear. So let's go in. Yeah. Attack and release. Simple as that. Turn that attack faster if you want it smoother. All right, so if you guys want to check out this content, uncut, no blurring, obviously we on YouTube, go ahead, click that link in the description to head over to the Onlyfans Prevenias page, and you will see this video without the blurring, and you'll see a lot of other content with a lot of other pretty girls. So if I were you, I would, right after this is over, go ahead, click the link. Head right on over there. Hit that subscribe button when you get there. And if you haven't hit the one here, make sure you do that too, because you never know what I might bring you in the future. But anyhow, let's go ahead and finish this video off by leveling the audio. So basically what I want to do is I want to make sure that when the person is hearing this audio, they are stimulated. Now, I got a Christmas song, so I dropped the pitch down a little bit. It just worked for the song. It just worked. Then we have the audio that I've been working on, and I want to actually mix that in. Now, how I want to mix it in, the point of what I want to get across is a person to watch this, be stimulated by what they're seeing, hear the music. So I want them to actually feel like, oh, this is Christmas time, but this is a sexy Christmas. That is what I want them to feel. Then I also want them to hear the breathing of the track that I was working on, but I don't want it to be like heard, like it's super loud. So this is where becoming an engineer is like, now I'm mixing to taste. I want to bring that audio down to where it's more felt than heard. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And after I do that, we're just going to be like, yay or nay. So let's try it out. All right. So right now I'm going to move it back just a little bit. I might turn the blurs back on. Sorry, y'all. But you know, yes, definitely got to blur that. Okay. All right. Well, let's go.
Merry Christmas, baby. Should you treat me nice?
That still seems like it's a little too loud. So let's keep going. I think we might have a winner.
Good music on my
I'm looking for
radio.
Okay. I guess that kind of works. There's no nipples. There's no actual nipples being shown here. So I think we have a winner here. All right. So hit that subscribe button, bell notification button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.